Alice in Wonderland 2, Looking Through the Looking Glass, or whatever it is. I can't remember. Yeah, I'll find it or not. I just say Alice in Wonderland 2. Alright, so, this movie's getting some quite negative reviews from some people, and I don't really see why. I was actually quite surprised. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was better than the first film, and the first film is enjoyable, it's decent, but it's nothing great. And I think this movie is quite great. I don't think it's, like perfect because, it's not. I mean, there are some shortcomings. One of them being most notably Alan Rickman's last performance, and he's only in it for 5 minutes at the beginning, and that's it. Because she keeps saying Absalom, Absalom, and you think, oh, he's going to be in it for a bit more, and that's it. You're like, oh, like, oh, that's quite a send off, isn't it? Like in it for 5 minutes. Not exactly what happened with Heath Ledger in Doctor Parnassus, but there we are. Anyway, so um, there's that, and then another shortcoming I did have at one point. It kind of felt like there was a bit too much going on, even though I was really enjoying it. There was some jokes that kind of had to think back about, and then go, oh yeah, because that was happening in the thing. Oh, I get it now. Oh, it's funny now. Because sometimes when I watch some films and there's like quite a lot of stuff going on, I have to like think back about what just happened because there is like quite a lot going on. There's more of a like adventure in this film than the first film. 'Cause I think the first film, like I say, was more of an origin story, and I think it's a film that got better on repeat viewing. So when I first watched it, I wasn't really that bothered by it, but then I watched it a few more times and I started enjoying it a bit more, and thought it's decent. There's a really good visual side to it. I think they've taken the visuals even further here, and I think they look rather beautiful, and that's great. Mia Wasikowska, or however you say her name, I know people say it really pronounce it really oddly. I think she's great. Um, I mean, she was given this opportunity because of the Heath Ledger Heath Ledger like award foundation. I can't exactly remember what it's called, but it was in his name. It's in the documentary. You can see very young Mia. She obviously got housing accommodation and she got like money support to be, like a, as they called it, an artist or upcoming actress, whatever. But on the documentary, they say being an upcoming artist, like whatever. So, I'm glad we got that because she's been in a lot of really good movies. Um, and she's not really faltered yet. So I don't think she ever is going to falter, which is good to know. Um, I like the whole beginning bit. Obviously, there's the whole thing that she's acting quite manly, and it's still in that time where women weren't really seen as that quite, you know, dominant, dominant sort of the men, because obviously it's all about men back then. And it is funny. Obviously there's quite a few jokes in there that I did laugh quite a bit. I really like Johnny Depp. I think his characters are all different. I mean, I can understand some people saying they're all like comedic performances, and obviously Black Mass was more of a serious kind of role. But I like him in all those things he's done recently, apart from like, well, I don't really want to watch Mordecai, and then that Steven Sondheim musical thing they made into a movie. I can't remember what it's called, but it looks like an alright movie. But he kind of looked a bit like he was just trying to be loony Johnny Depp, but not the good like loony Johnny Depp. Because obviously, like with Jack Sparrow and like Mad Hatter and like Lone Ranger character and Dark Shadows, Barnabas Collins and all that kind of characters, I like those characters. I enjoy and stuff like that. So yeah, and you have that, and obviously Sacha Baron Cohen's here for the first time, and he sort of plays like Swedish. He's kind of like a villain, then he's kind of turned into something else, but I won't go into spoiler territory. And obviously the main cast are back and they're really great in the movie. Helen Bonham Carter's standout; she's brilliant again. Um, but it feels very Burton-esque, even though Burton is just producer. So obviously there's still something there. So I think the director did a really good job. I actually would compare it. It's not as like masterful, like a masterpiece, obviously, because the film does have its flaws. But if you look for the look and the feel of Tim Burton, it's kind of like what Tony Scott did with True Romance. You know, because Tarantino penned the script for that film, but he obviously didn't direct because he was making Pulp Fiction at the time. Um, but it's kind of like that. Like it's so tapped into what is Burton that it's a bit like he directed even though he didn't. So I think that shows the director did really, really well to do that. So overall, I would say the movie's a good 8. I wouldn't go any higher than that because, like I say, there's some shortcomings. Obviously, Alan Rickman not really been in it very much in the beginning, and at one point there was a little bit too much going on, and I kind of had to think back about some of the jokes, but I did realize they were funny because they do like lots of time puns. They do like lots of time jokes at time because that's what Sacha Baron Cohen's character's called. So I definitely say it's worth a watch. I don't think it's really deserved some of the slating it's had. I mean, the whole time travel element I think is quite interesting because they tried to do it in a way that it's not that kind of thing that oh this doesn't make sense. I think it makes more sense than some time travel movies like Terminator Genesis, but obviously there are quite a few things in Terminator Genesis that are a bit crazy, but it's an alright film. It's just it does play around a lot with what goes on in the timeline of that series.